All right, a very good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. I'm Nikhil Sharma. I'm the product manager at Qentinel, and welcome to the webinar Get to Know Qentinel Pace webinar number 1. And here with me, I have Thomas Kokari, who is a product specialist and also a test automation guru.
Hello.
All right. And the idea of this webinar, it's a series of webinar. This is the first episode. And with that in mind, we will look at the product as in from an overview point of view and look at the entire journey that you need to take to be able to conduct test automation using Qentinel Pace. And with every other episode, we will introduce new features, new ways of doing test automation. How can you leverage the new features in your test automation projects as we are launching monthly updates with new and cool features in the product itself. But for the agenda of today's webinar is to first look at Qentinel Pace, as in what is it, and then look at the objectives for today's webinar. Thomas will run the show of showing you through the product, and then also we will look at what are the features that we are today mostly focusing on. And then towards the end, I'll give you a sneak peek into what the upcoming webinars might hold for you. And then towards the end, we'll have question and answers. And with the practical information is that you can have question and answers in the YouTube platform from where you are viewing the webinar. There is an option of writing us. So if you have comments, question, answers, anything, please feel free to write, and then we will answer it towards the end. All right, so far so good. So then, what is Qentinel Pace? Qentinel Pace, it's a hyper-scalable test automation in the cloud. It's a SaaS product, which means you access it over a browser and log in using your credentials, and there you have it. You have access to a really scalable test automation platform without having to do anything. You can scale it. You can build test cases there. You can have multiple robots, and then you can run them in parallel or in sequence. And it's also a cross-platform test automation product. That means you can test web applications or native applications or mobile applications with it, but it's not limited to that. We have customers who are testing automotive, AUTOSAR standards, or even doing non-intrusive testing using Qentinel Pace. The three key ideas of building this product and how we drive our development is that we want to get you at speed with development, productivity of test automation. So how easy it is to set you up, get you all ready for running your first test cases, as Thomas will show us today. Then the scalability of it. So you have all the infrastructure in cloud. You don't need to set up your environments or have the CI/CD pipeline in place. You can scale the product, use the cloud as at your service, and also bring in, integrate other products, other test automation products with Qentinel Pace. And the third, which we will not touch on today, is the predictability part of it, as in how you leverage all the data that you have in your test automation, plus the data throughout software development to understand the quality of your application, of your product at whole. All right, so this is more theory part of Pace. And of course, if you have questions, you can ask, feel free to ask me. Then something which I wanted to mention here is that we have a free personal plan for everyone. So if you have a valid email address anywhere in the world, you can go to Pace and sign up for your own personal plan of Qentinel Pace, which allows you to do test automation using Qentinel Pace. Thomas will show you how you can do that, but it's a great asset for you to have, and it's free, and it's for perpetuity, so it never ends. And then with that, we also have training and certification programs. So visit us at qentinel.com, look for training and certification. And by registering to those training and certification, you can learn how to do test automation using Qentinel Pace. It will help you to understand test automation and also the product itself. All right, then in today's webinar, Thomas will show you first of all how to sign up for your personal plan, as I mentioned. Then you look at the product, how it looks like, how it feels, how you can navigate through the product, what are different views, and then one of the core feature or core concept in Pace is to have robots. It's basically your digital worker, how to build them, how to scale them, and then from there on, you will jump to actually creating test cases on a web application, executing them, and then towards the end, once you have executed test cases, what kind of result analysis is available on Pace. So that's more or less the path that we will take in today's webinar. But actually, Thomas will take. The features that we will focus on is the scalable cloud infrastructure. As I mentioned earlier, scalability is one of our core value propositions. So look at how easy and how fast it is to get started with building test automation and scaling it. Then you will look at one really cool feature, live testing. That's an environment where you can build test cases, validate your test steps using a low-code technology called Pacewords. And this is something which will enable you to develop your own test cases. And then towards the end, we'll look at the result analysis part of Pace. So with that monologue, I'll hand it over to Thomas for the product tour and put myself offline and then rejoin when the product tour has ended. So over to you, Thomas.
Thank you. Let's wait for the screen to refresh. So what you are seeing now is Qentinel Pace, our cloud-based robotic software testing solution. And what does that mean? Nikhil already introduced Pace, but I would like to add that this tool supports also robotic process automation, not just test automation. So if you are familiar with tools like UiPath or Automation Anywhere or something like that, we can do the same thing as those tools. Let's start with the registration process. So as mentioned, everybody can have a free personal license in Pace, and you can register by clicking this sign up here in the login page. I'm clicking that one. Then you write down your name, email address, and then you can decide what kind of a password you want to utilize. So let's put something here. Oh. And then this is optional, but you can decide your organization name. And this is maybe important if you want to later upgrade your plan to real organizational plan. If you don't give anything here, we will use your name as an organization name as well, but let's put something here. Oh. Okay, and then of course put the country there, and you have to fill in this little code here, whatever is given there for you. I'm not going to click the sign up now because I have already done it, but when you click this button here, you will get a confirmation email on your email. Just clicking the link there will take you back to Qentinel Pace and you will have an account. But let's see how it looks like after the sign up. So I'm logging in with this account that doesn't have anything in Pace yet. And this is what you will see. So the homepage dashboard for you is a little bit different than probably for organizational accounts. So you have certain shortcuts here to create, for example, new projects. You can go to the quick start. You can manage your organization. You can go to user guide, view different kind of plans if you want to upgrade. And of course, you can register directly to the trainings and so on. Okay, I hope you understood the registration process. For the rest of the demo, I'm actually using an account that has some data there. So let me actually find that one. Just a second. Here it is. Okay, and what you probably notice and might wonder is that why there's two different login types. So the reason is simple. We normally integrate to organization's Active Directory, meaning that if you have, for example, Office 365 in use in your company, you wouldn't need to remember different set of credentials. You could log in to Pace with exactly the same credentials that you are using when logging into your email and so on. So then you would be logging with this login using Microsoft button. But in this demo case, I'm using Pace specific account and logging into the admin Salesforce demo account now. Right, and the first thing that you see when you log into Pace is the home page. What you see there now is one dashboard. We will cover the dashboards a little bit later. But what is important to understand here is that the homepage dashboards are customizable, meaning that you could have, for example, role-based information available for you immediately when you log in. So let's say a manager, they could have a dashboard displaying information across different projects, for example. And then the person who is actually doing the test automation, he might see the latest results, latest bugs, whatever. So you can customize it from using this change homepage dashboard button. The navigation in Pace is on the upper right hand corner. So these little icons here are the navigation. We will first cover the projects and the test automation part. And at the end, we will check the dashboards from this called the intelligence module. But let's go into the projects. When I click the icon, the briefcase icon, I then will see the list of all projects for this organization where I'm logged in at the moment. So in this particular case, we have two different projects. And of course, if there's multiple projects, we can set up the visibility as anybody wants. So basically, common setup is that, for example, subcontractors in some organization, they can only see data from the projects they are actually working in. And then internal people, they can have wider visibility across different projects. But we are now going into this Salesforce end-to-end project, the first one. And to get to the test automation part, I'm clicking this nice robot icon here. Okay, and this is the test automation module. What you see in the middle now is trends and dashboards again, but this time they are telling you the story how the testing is going on inside your project at the moment, and also based on historical data. So, for example, this is maybe looking a little bit too good now because everything is green, but you could, for example, see or go back to the history and just select and highlight a part from this graph, and it will then drill down into the detailed results of that time period. But that is not really the important part. The important part is on the left. So we have certain entities on the left side of the screen. One of them is this Salesforce Web. Then this is a robot. A robot is basically a full test automation environment in cloud or on-premise. I will show you soon how to create one. And everything under robot is called test suites. So they are basically the instructions for a robot what to do. So whenever you link a test suite to a robot, that robot knows what to do, what to test based on the test suite information. But let's create a new robot just to see how it's done. So I can click this Add a Robot button. Then I can give my robot a name. Let's use a demo here. Then we have a couple of options. So the first one is that, or the default one is that the robot will be stored in our cloud. So basically in EU region AWS. The other option is that we would have an on-premise robot. And the on-premise robot means that we will have an execution machine, so a real PC inside company's network, and Pace, the Pace cloud would actually contact to that execution machine using a package called Pace Connect. So basically, Pace would tell the execution machine that, okay, start running the test cases and return the results back to Pace. So all the results and such would be visible here in cloud, but the actual running will be done inside your own network. But let's keep the default option on. Then for the robot type, we have a couple of options. So basically, web contains everything else except mobile. Even desktop testing is currently under this web option. And for mobile, we have a couple of different options. The reason being that we don't actually have our own device farms at the moment. We have integrated to a third-party services already providing cloud device farms. So if you already have an account to Bitbar or BrowserStack, you can utilize that one. Or if not, you can get one from us when you get license to Pace. But okay, I'm leaving these actually as they were. So only thing I did was give the name for the robot. And now when I click save, it says robot has already been created. So it took maybe 2 seconds. And what actually happened here is that we will have a complete test automation environment in cloud. Meaning that in this case, when I'm doing web testing, we have all the browser versions, Firefox, Chrome, and so on installed in the cloud. We have test execution frameworks. We have all the needed libraries, whatever that you normally need to install manually when you are setting up an environment to your own network. So how this helps customers? Well, first of all, you get started really quickly. So it takes 2 seconds. Whenever you need more bandwidth or more robots to do testing, you can create another one. And again, it takes 2 more seconds or something like that. You can run test in parallel. So multiple robots can run test suites at the same time. And even one robot can actually run different suites at the same time. So the testing time actually decreases. You get the results earlier. That's one of the benefits. And then, of course, the whole environment is maintained by us as a service. So basically, you don't need to worry when a new browser version is released that you will do the updates, make sure that everything works. We are doing that for you in the background already. Okay, now we have a robot, a test automation environment. The next thing that we need to do is to give the instructions for the robot. So for that, I'm actually adding a new suite for a robot, clicking this little plus icon. And the next thing I need to do is to point where my test scripts are, where they are stored. We kind of have the assumption that test scripts should be handled similarly as code. So they should be under version control. We do have actually an option where to store them here in cloud file system, but for the real stuff, I actually suggest that please use real version control. It's easier to keep things in shape there. But anyway, we support Git services. We have integrated Pace to public GitLab, public GitHub. Then you can define your own Git attributes if you have, for example, your own Git installation already in your company. And if none of these is suitable, we can provide a repository from our own GitLab instance for you. In this demo case, I'm actually utilizing the last option, so using Qentinel's own GitLab. So I have given the token for this user, and when I click this icon, it will see all of the repositories that this particular person has access to. So what I have to do here is just select the repository that I want to utilize, and I can do it by clicking add. In this phase, I can still change the suite name to be something different. So let's use demo here as well. I can select which branch from the repository should be utilized. So a common example how this could be utilized is that if a company has multiple environments, let's say dev or develop some staging environment and production, you might not want to run tests, the latest tests against every environment. So, for example, when the system gets updates, you need to update the test cases immediately, but the updates might go to the development environment first. Staging environment would be still having kind of the old code and old test cases as well. So then you can do something like this. You would select branch as develop, and this suite would be run against the develop branch of the test cases. And then later you can merge the same test cases to different branches and so on. But anyway, I'll leave that as master. The last option that you can select is if you want to enable streaming or recording videos while running test cases. We will see an example of that, but basically after test run, you will have a video file showing you what the robot has been doing. And streaming option is that you will see that video live. So it will pop up a small window and actually show you what will be done. Another slight benefit or very good benefit actually is that you can define variables here. So in many systems that you are going to test, you probably need to, for example, log in to a service. And we see this all the time that the credentials, let's say passwords and so on, they are actually stored inside Git or inside test scripts, which is not very good, because if somebody somehow gets access to test scripts, they can immediately see the credentials and log into that system. The better way of doing that is to create a variable in Pace, okay, password like this, and then I give the actual value for the password, and then I can click this eye icon here, which will encrypt the actual value. So no human can anymore see what was the actual password, but our test scripts can still refer to variable called password and utilize the real value when, for example, logging in. But okay, I'm not going to add that now. Let's just save and create a test suite. All right. So here it is, our new robot called Demo with a test suite called Demo. There are a couple of ways of running test suites in Pace, or actually 3. The first one is pretty simple. You just click the run button. It will immediately start running the test in your test suite, and then return the results. We will do that soon. The second one is using the scheduler. So Pace has an inbuilt capability to schedule test runs. I'll open now the scheduler so you can see this little dialog to make the scheduling more easy. So you can select from here that, okay, run this particular test suite, let's say every day at 3 o'clock at night. And of course, if you are very familiar with the cron tab format, you can, put it directly here, and the dialog as well changes based on the input here. But I never actually remember what was the order in this cron tab format, so it's easier to use the scheduler dialog. But I'm canceling this. The last option is, and this is actually very common, so in many companies they already have a continuous integration pipeline, and they want to include Pace there. So basically meaning that, let's say your pipeline could be that you compile the code, run some static analysis there, maybe unit tests, and then if everything is green, you want to run UI test using Pace. So then you can create an API key in Pace. So this little icon here, which says API options, you click it, and then you will click generate to get a new API key. And then you would need to store this. and call Pace's APIs with this API key. And what actually happens then is that it will trigger a run in Pace and return the results in XML format back to your continuous integration pipeline. We even have this script to call Pace's API with the API key in our help. So there's a Bash script for that, because most of the continuous integration pipelines are Linux based, but of course you can call using any language, Python, JavaScript, whatever, if you are more familiar with those. I'll actually delete this API key now because we are not going to utilize that. We'll now run the test cases. So I'll put the video recording on for all test cases. The other options are that it will only store recordings for the failed test cases, or not record anything at all. But let's put the all option on, and then the streaming option as well. And now when I click run, a new window will pop up. It will take a while to prepare everything the first time, but soon it will start running the test cases, and you will see what actually happens. So this will auto update whenever something is happening. No need to kind of manually refresh it or anything. Yeah, now it's starting. If I remember right, these simple test cases are going to our own web pages and verifying certain things there, following some links and so on. So I think it should dismiss this cookie thing. Yeah, there it happened actually. And whenever you see a blue rectangle here, it will actually, it's a sign of Pace finding certain element from the screen, either clicking that or verifying that it exists or something like that. Yeah, going on. I think it changed the language or the country at some point of time. Probably went a little bit too fast, but yeah, there it's elected Finland, if I remember right. Yeah, it probably checking now some Finnish text from the screen. Okay, but this shouldn't take too long to finalize. Now the results are already there, and this window turned black, meaning that the test run is finalized. You can still go back and see what happened if you want to, so it doesn't kind of vanish from the screen. You can rewind and go forward as well from this video if you want to, but I'll close this window and let's concentrate on the results. So when the results available, what you see on the middle section of the screen is all of the test runs of this particular suite. So in this case, when we only had just created the test suite and run it once, there's only one run available. But if you would have many runs, there would be a lot of historical data, and you could go back years if you wanted to. So all the results are saved by Pace. On the right side, you can see the summary results of the selected test run. Now, since we only have one, that one is selected. And among those results, what you see is the test case name, the status, what happened, so everything was green, passed, and then the video. So if I click from here, it will show the video from that particular test case only. We don't need to watch this now, but anyway, this is how you find the videos. And if you click the test case name, it will go to a detailed report showing what actually happened during that test case. It's commonly used when something actually fails. So you will see a screenshot of the situation where the fail happened. We can actually take a look from this other robot later. Then you can rerun all of the test cases from here directly. So again, a good feature if something fails, you can go to a feature called live testing and rerun it. And then you can see the times, how long each test case took. I'll actually show you now the logs, and I'm using the other robot called Salesforce Web and a suite called Salesforce Chrome. I bet we have some fails here somewhere. Okay, here we have in November. So if I now click this little link that looks like a timestamp, the results on the right side will reflect that particular run. And you can see that there's now 3 fails. If I want to, I can open the detailed execution report from here. And now these make a little bit more sense because there's some failed test cases. We do have a little shortcut to make test failure analysis a little bit easier. So normally we are not that interested in cases that passed. So we can click this show only failed test cases button, and then everything that doesn't include any fails will be removed from the report. But here's one particular case where something has failed. So as you can see, all of the failures, of course they have certain note that what we were trying to look for, click for, and so forth. But then we also have screenshots of that particular situation. And you could then utilize these screenshots, for example, in bug reports and so on. Normal stuff. Okay, let's go back to our newly created suite. I still want to show you how we make the test case creation easier. So now, for now, we have been using ready-made test cases. I'll show how to edit those. And Pace includes a cloud-based editor. You don't need to install anything into your own machine to be able to create new test cases or fixing old ones that don't work anymore. You can do it directly in Pace. I click the Pace editor button, and then I can see the whole content of that repository that we just linked into our report. I can open a test case file from here. And by the way, you can utilize, of course, any editor that you are used to working with. So you don't need to use this cloud-based editor. If you already have a setup in your local machine, you can utilize that. But this is kind of a added value, meaning that you can create test cases without installing anything. Right, but the test cases look like this. And as Nikhil already mentioned, our test case syntax is based on these simple atomic keywords. We call them base words. And these are pretty easy to understand, easy to create. You actually need only a handful normally in most test cases. And you can create very complex scenarios with few keywords. But the best feature of these is that these are mostly platform independent, meaning that the same keywords or base words, they work with a web application, mobile application, or desktop application. So for example, the one that you can see on the screen, click text, this will actually click text accept on the screen. So this argument here tells you what text will be clicked. And if I would be running the same test cases in mobile, the syntax would be exactly the same. So click text, accept, and it would probably click the accept button or something on the mobile UI. Common question is, what about the situations where there are multiple same text on the screen? Well, then you can give a second argument called anchor, and it can be another text close to the element that you want to interact with. Let's say just if there's accept, there could be like decline, the other option. So then it would find the text or button decline and close to that text accept and click that one. Or then if you know that there's, let's say, 3 accept text on the screen, you can say that, okay, click the second one. And you can guide it like that if you want to. Okay, but anyway, this editor. So you can just, of course, start typing test cases here. So if I type something, it will already give me ideas what kind of keywords they are available. So for example, type text, and then I could say, okay, username, and what actually will be typed. The other option is to open the keyword library from here. So on the left side of the screen, the last icon is called keyword library. And what happens is that you will have a kind of a graphical format to do the same thing. So if I put the top base words section open from here, I can then see that, okay, these are the keywords that are most often used, and I can just drag and drop something from here. So now I would be dragging type secret, which actually types text but doesn't show it on the logs. And I could say type field password, and well, actually here I would be utilizing those basis variables so that nothing would be available on the script. But to get the point, you can drag and drop the keywords from here to the editor. The third option is to record the test cases. And for that, I'm opening a live testing session. So for every test case, I hope you can see the run live testing link. So if I start from the first one, this will take a while to open for the first time, but the live testing feature is meant for, of course, creating test cases and debugging those. So what will happen is that you will have an access to a browser in cloud, and then you will have your script here, and I can run either the whole test case or, for example, every step by step. So let's do that. I'll run the first keyword called app state there. It will go into our pages. Better yet, I don't need to follow the script that is already there. I can start interacting with this browser. So if I click, for example, the start testing link here, and then let's click something else, for example, pricing. I'm not sure if you saw, but here on the middle section, there's these little red dots signifying that something was recorded. And if I make this browser window a little bit bigger and move it away, you can see what was actually recorded. So I was clicking the text, start testing for free, and then I was clicking the pricing text, and Pace recorded those for me. So basically you can also create test cases just by doing them manually using this live testing feature. Of course, there might be some needs to edit the script that will be provided because, well, people might make mistakes while recording, but this is also one option to create the test cases. Okay, I'll put the browser back. And actually, I'm closing the editor at this point and not saving any changes here. All right. The last thing that I have in mind is also something that we see quite often. So there might be very good test automation initiatives inside a company. People might have their own continuous integration server or test automation server already in the company, and they are running test cases all the time. But commonly what happens is that only the team doing test automation can have access to the test automation cases and results. So rest of the organization might not even know that they have very good test automation setup already. So for that reason, Qentinel Pace also makes all the test automation results visible to the whole organization. We actually have one feature also here in robots module that makes seeing current status in one glance a little bit easier. It's called latest run details pursuit report. So this is maybe not too meaningful now when we already have two different suites in this robot, but I'll open it anyway. So what would happen is that you would see a list of all of your test suites under certain robot, their latest run and status of that latest run. So, well, some of our customers have 30 plus suites under one robot, so then it makes a little bit more sense to view this kind of a view to get the current status instead of going these suites or opening these suites one by one and checking, okay, here we have 7 all passed, and here we have okay, 7 here as well, all passed. So just a little shortcut to show you the latest situation immediately. But we also have this dashboarding and reporting model called the intelligence. I will go there now. And every project can have one or multiple dashboards. They can be completely different. I'll open one from here. I guess this is the same one that we saw already in the beginning on the homepage model. So yeah, you can put any of these onto the homepage. And I know that the data that you see here is not meaningful for you, but what is important to understand is that we can bring data from any relevant R&D system here. Basically, whatever tool that has some kind of an API, we can provide or get the data to Pace's dashboards. And that gives you an opportunity to kind of create dashboards with data coming from completely different systems. For example, very common scenario is that a customer has taken Pace into use, they do automation testing there, and they still have manual testing in, let's say, Jira with some plugin there. So they, of course, want to see the whole testing situation. So one set of data will come from Pace, one set of data will come from Jira. They will both be put into the same dashboard, and it's easy to see and available for the whole organization to see that this is where we are at the moment. Okay. Yeah. So what I didn't yet say is that Pace is actually based on open source components. So people familiar with, for example, robot framework might have seen that looks like a robot framework, the scripting language there. Yes, it is. So the test execution engine there is robot framework. You can utilize any open source or third-party libraries that you already have in Pace as well. We don't mandate using our own libraries, but they are made for a reason. And the reason being that, for example, for web testing, the library that is commonly being used is called Selenium library. Pace provides its own web testing library because we have noticed certain issues that we want to make better in Pace. So, for example, we handle the unexpected alerts automatically. We take the latencies into account. You don't need to do anything. Pace kind of automatically handles the latencies, or if something is delayed today a little bit more than yesterday, and so on. So the libraries themselves are kind of improved version of libraries that people normally use. And of course, you get those into use for free, and we will maintain all of the test libraries for you. So you don't need to have your own resources to create test libraries unless you really want to. Other libraries that we have, I probably forgot to mention, but we by default support mobile testing. So we have our own mobile testing library. And then for desktop testing, we are using a computer vision based library called QVision. So especially the last one is something that is pretty interesting. It's actually in many cases been even faster than, for example, doing something using the Windows APIs. So it's, if you have any previous knowledge of OCR based libraries, you might have some kind of an assumption about those, but believe me, this is completely different. This is fast and reliable based. Something that I, at least personally, have never ever previously seen. Okay, but if we, for example, compare Pace to to some open source things like robot framework. People quite often ask about that what do you get compared to robot framework if you use Pace? Well, what you get is that you can create those test environments in seconds. You can scale up your testing. Whenever you need more testing volume, you can just create more robots and so on. You can run those test cases in parallel without doing any weird setups inside your network and so on. You can schedule the runs, not easy to do with open source things. You can integrate with your common continuous integration pipeline. You get the videos, you get the live view, and so on. And of course, you get these libraries that we already mentioned. You get integration to version control. You get access to browsers in cloud and this editor. You get the recorder as well. And you get the support for robotic process automation as well. So you don't need to have a different tool for test automation and another tool for RPA. You can do everything in the same tool. And last but not least, you get these fancy, nice reports and dashboards. Usually people are having some other third-party solution for reporting, but here you get everything just by using Pace. That's about it. Do we have any questions at this point?
All right, so we'll take the questions after a couple of slides. But now I would say thank you to Thomas for this rather generous product tour. I learned a few things myself. I did not know Azure AD stands for Active Directory, for example. So that's a new learning for me. The easiest way for you to translate this learning into practice would be just go sign up and then run through the quick tour. So basically that creates an automatically a robot, a suit, and just click on the run button, and then you get to see what Thomas showed you here. Just for the sake of completeness, when Thomas was live streaming the video, you could close that live stream and it wouldn't affect your test execution because the test execution itself is happening in the cloud. That's just a video stream of the test run itself. But going forward for the upcoming webinars, the sneak peek is that what we will look into, the bunch of topics there. One thing that I was thinking about is to introduce you to the idea of on-premise robots. So what you saw now is all the infrastructure, all the robots in the cloud. But then there are use cases when the system under test is rather cumbersome to access over HTTPS. It's behind firewalls. Or then there are companies like insurance or banking which do not want to yet go to the cloud. And for that, we can have this on-premise robots, but they are not disconnected robots. So we keep our robots all connected, which means you can orchestrate these robots from the browser itself. That's very cool. Another thing that Thomas dropped here about computer vision, one of the topics that we will look into is how do you automate desktop applications using computer vision. But not only desktop application, you could actually use web, and you can also automate web and mobile applications with kind of augmenting the technology stack with computer vision. So if the drivers can't find certain elements, then computer vision can kick in and take a picture and try to see if the element is visible. Another topic that you want to look into is mobile testing. How can you conduct mobile testing using Pace? And a lot more, but this is a series of webinar. Currently, we're gonna have it once in every 2 months. And then if you have certain questions, if you have things that you want to see on the webinar, you're always welcome to drop us an email, send a request, and we shall take it in consideration. And Thomas is a great test automation guru. So if you have questions about test automation, please reach out to him. That's all from my end. So now I'll thank you, Thomas, for the again for the product demo. And all the audience. Here are our email addresses, contact information, and please feel free to ask questions now. And if you don't have questions now, you can always reach out to us. And yeah. So for now, I don't see any questions online. I'll wait for a minute if someone is still typing. But if then there are none, you can always reach out to us, and we are more than happy to answer your questions. All right, so let's call it today, call it a webinar, and then see you next time. So until then, have a great festival season, have a great new year, and then we shall see you next year. All right, then bye for now.
Bye. Thanks.